80 laps at a rain-soaked French Grand Prix. Lie in wake ahead of us today. Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost and Nelson Piquet, the three championship protagonists, do battle once again. Martin Brundle has announced he will not renew contracts with Streamline for the following year, and everything is to play for as it always is. Streamline is next. Hello everybody and welcome back to Streamline. It's round 7 of the 1988 season and we head to the circuit Paul Ricard for the French Grand Prix. Martin Brundle announced last episode that he is not going to renew his contract for the 1989 season. We also brought on board reserve driver Martin Donnelly, who's very happy at the moment, and as you can see in the bottom left there is rain predicted, heavy rain predicted for the race on Sunday. The constructors' standings going into this one, McLaren have a great lead, Lotus and Ferrari tied for second, but Arrows were their standout performers of the Detroit Grand Prix, claiming an unprecedented 1-2 finish that drew them all the way up into 4th place in the championship. A quick look at the drivers then. Martin Brundle now, motivation low, relationship with the team low and morale low. So he's unhappy, he's not motivated and he doesn't like the team anymore. Martin Donnelly though, he's very happy. He's got 6 months left on his short-term reserve driver contract. We have a lot of news to cover today, so let's get straight into it. Arrows and Eddie Cheever in particular have been celebrated over the past 2 weeks. Cheever achieved his first victory in the sport back in Detroit. McLaren boss Ron Dennis has challenged Senna to drive within his abilities in future after the Brazilian crashed out from the lead. Ferrari had thought a 1-2 finish was on the cards until issues cut that short. Nigel Mansell returns to Williams after missing one race. Jean-Louis Schlesser performed admirably whilst filling in. Patrese was shaken after his big shunt in Detroit but is okay to race on in France. Nakajima returns to action after missing the previous 4 Grand Prix. Herbert steps away after back-to-back points finishes. Tyrrell are really happy with the improvement they've seen in Rothengatter, who has now finished his first race this year. LaRousse and Minardi both picked up their first points of the year in Detroit, a great result for the pair of teams. Lotus have been hard at work, bringing a mightily improved rear wing as well as a huge weight-saving effort. Ferrari bring a decent upgrade to the power output of their engine. LaRousse have introduced a new rear wing and weight-saving upgrade to France. Coloni bring an updated front wing, and that is all from the news. So big upgrades for Ferrari and Lotus bring them to an overall of 90, actually pretty close to McLaren, but McLaren still, of course, leading the way on that one. A few other upgrades up and down the grid, no upgrades for Streamline this round, but if you look at the mail soon, you'll see there might be some upgrades soon, so we're still 17th out of 18. The technical director for the team, Matt Hughes, has been in the mail, saying, "Hi boss, you'll be happy to hear that there are new car upgrades on the way for the British Grand Prix. This is our big upgrade for the season and features a new front wing, a new diffuser, as well as a lot of weight being cut off the car. Ford have been in contact to say we should see another upgrade from them by round 11 of the season." Excellent news, but that will sadly be the final upgrade for the car this year. Our reserve/test driver, I suppose, Martin Donnelly, saying, "I've been really enjoying my time in the team so far, and I feel it would be of a great benefit if I can get some seat time during a testing session. I have contact with an Irish business that are willing to sponsor the team during the second half of the season, but only if I am allowed a testing session at Silverstone prior to the British Grand Prix. Let's get this thing set up." We have no idea what the Irish business is. This could be a whole scam by Martin Donnelly, but I suppose there's no risk taking him up on the offer. Barry Goodman, the big boss, I suppose, he says, "I've got a bit of bad news today. Toshiba are not happy with the team's performance and they are not open to renegotiating their sponsorship. This means that we need to focus on recruiting smaller scale sponsors who are willing to be less demanding. I myself am a very demanding person, but I also understand the importance of sponsor security in this matter. Let's try and find some new sponsors for the second half of the year." He was so disappointed he didn't even sign off the mail, so that's fantastic. But yeah, he's right, we do need to find some maybe less prominent sponsors. So Martin Brundle's race engineer Graham Ames has said, "I know that Martin Brundle has already stated that he will not be willing to remain with Streamline next year. As his race engineer, I do have a relationship with him, but we are not that close. I'd be happy to remain at the team next season, no matter who our driver is. My loyalty lies with the team rather than the driver." That's good news. That means we have got at least one person, team personnel secured for next season. Graham Ames is a solid race engineer. We now know Toshiba will not be renewing with us, so we need to find a new rear wing sponsor and a few side body sponsors. Rexona, well, I'm not unsure whether they will sign with us for the remainder of the 1988 season. We'll have to wait and see. On to the news. Let's see what the personnel up and down the paddock have been saying Thomas Wood, saying, an unlikely hero. What we all witnessed in Detroit will live in the memory of F1 fans for many years to come. Not only did we see an Arrows 1-2, but we also saw an American winner on home soil. Crazy races like this only work when it happens no more than a couple of times a year. I wonder what action and carnage we will all get to witness here in France. It was a fantastic race for Arrows. It really was a shocking result, but a good way shocking. Not bad, of course. David Paul from Unimotors. Speaking about Jean-Louis Schlesser, I was really impressed with the performance of the stand-in driver at Williams, Jean-Louis Schlesser. Although qualifying was as we expected with the Frenchman down in 22nd, the race was about consistency and staying out of trouble, and that's what Schlesser did so well. Carving his way through the field, he finished in 7th place and just narrowly missed out on points. That was his first ever World Championship race start. I think he entered one back in 1983 but didn't start the race. This was his first start and he almost scored points. Charlie Hast from Inside F1. Charlie looks about 10 years old. But anyway, Piquet in trouble. The reigning world champion had started the season fantastically well with 2 victories inside the first 3 races of the year. However, since that milestone, Piquet has suffered 3 retirements on the bounce. If this form continues, what hope is there for Piquet to retain his title? I don't think he is going to be able to recover before the end of the year. It's been a bad run for Piquet and for Lotus, really. Hopefully they can bounce back. Of course, they got Nakajima back in the car, so let's see what miracles he can work. Anyway, enough talking. Let's find out what happened for pre-qualifying for the 1988 French Grand Prix. Oscar Larori in the Eurobrun was first out on circuit during pre-qualifying for the French Grand Prix, and he went fastest. But that was soon to be beaten by the Coloni of Gabriele Tarquini, who always seems to be the star in pre-qualifying. And Martin Brundle.
This one might be difficult considering the long straights on this circuit doesn't suit our car.
As I was rudely interrupted, Brundle heads out on circuit. Alex Caffey in the Dallara, the improved Dallara, they've been improving all season long. He goes fastest, and Brundle's first lap is not quick enough there.
Not fast enough and go again.
At least the race engineer agrees with me. Brundle goes again though, and does manage to improve on his time to slot into the top 4.
Good luck, mate. That is good enough.
So with Brundle making it yet again, that means Alex Caffey, Gabriele Tarquini, Martin Brundle and Stefano Modena make it into the main qualifying session. And once again, Oscar Larori misses out. I think he's failed to reach the qualifying stage on 5 separate occasions this season. So, shock horror, Larori misses out on qualifying again, but Martin Brundle once again makes it through. If you can remember at the start of the season, the FIA said that they'd re-look at the teams and drivers that are required to pre-qualifying at the halfway stage of the season, and because Martin Brundle has qualified for every single race, I'm sure we'll be exempt from the pre-qualifying rule, and some other cars, maybe the Zach Speeds, will be pushed down into there. Anyway, let's have a look at what happened for qualifying for the French Grand Prix. The qualifying session got underway like clouds covering the circuit as Pierluigi Martini in the Minardi goes to provisional pole position. Fellow Italian Alessandro Nannini then pips Martini's time, the Benetton, up to first place. Nigel Mansell, after missing one round after that incident back in Canada, is back in the car and it's provisional pole position for the Williams. It was then Martin Brundle's time to take part and head out onto the circuit.
Okay, Martin, take it easy, don't push too hard.
Ferrari expecting big things this weekend with the upgrades to their car, and Michele Alboreto goes out and takes provisional pole position. As Martin Brundle completes his first lap miles down, but it's technically 9th place, but I think only 9 drivers have actually completed a lap time so far.
That's a good bank lap, Martin, but just go again now.
The whole grid had their fun, but then it's Ayrton Senna's time to go out and take provisional pole position, and it's going to be tough for anybody to shift him from there. And the session sours as Ivan Capelli, his March Leighton House suffering a huge failure at turn 1. And the medical reports not favouring him at all. Hopefully he can have a speedy recovery. But the show must go on, and Ayrton Senna goes out and improves on his provisional pole position time. So let's ride on board with Martin Brundle on his fastest lap in this qualifying session. He already just improved twice in a row, an 11.1 and an 11.0 back to back. And now Brundle on his 3rd lap on these tyres, taking it round the fast turns 2 and 3 and onto this very long back straight. I believe it's called the Mistral straight, all the way down to the right-hander at the end of this very long straight. Sadly for Streamline and the Ford engine that they've got in the back of that car, It's not very powerful, and the car is very, very draggy, as we've seen so far this season. So Streamline are going to be very down on power and very down on straight line speed, as proven in the speed trap all weekend long so far. But so far, through the first sector, it's not actually looking too great for Martin Brundle. He's down by almost a tenth of a second on his previous best, and he's just got a slither of fuel left in the car to make it to the checkered flag. Well, I suppose the final finish line, not the checkered flag, as there's still a decent amount of time left in the session. But Brundle not going faster than this later on, so it doesn't really matter. Through the second timing line, though, up by a tenth and a bit, and through the final corner, using all the exit as he possibly can, the Briton down towards the line to set a time of a 10.885. That's only 23rd place right now. Prost had issues with his car early on, and with 5 minutes to go set his first time to go in second place. Senna, though, pole position. It's all set up to be a fantastic French Grand Prix. Rain in the air, an all McLaren front row start, and Martin Brundle just making it onto the grid. Let's have a look at the qualifying results, and then let's get straight into the French Grand Prix.
Senna!
The Brazilian Ayrton Senna once again claiming pole position, with McLaren teammate Alain Prost only getting one run-in in qualifying at his home Grand Prix. The two Ferraris of Berger and Alboreto on the second row, but they are much closer to the McLarens with the upgraded car. Nelson Piquet on his own there in 5th place, followed by the two Williams, the returning Mansell and Riccardo Patrese, lucky to escape without injury after his crash in Detroit. Thierry Boutsen 8th, with Nakajima on his return in 9th place, followed by Nannini, the second Benetton. Maurizio Gugelmin, the only March to make it onto the grid, as Ivan Capelli is out for what seems to be maybe the whole season now with that big crash in qualifying. Then it's the heroes of the previous race, Eddie Cheever 12th and Derek Warwick 13th, followed by the two LaRousse cars of Alio and Daumas. René Arnoux at his home Grand Prix lines up for 16th place for Ligier, Jonathan Palmer in the lead Tyrrell in 17th, then it's Johansson, Caffey and Hub Rothengatter making it onto the grid once again. Luis Perez Sala sets off from 21st place for Minardi, Nicola Larini 22nd, and Martini makes it two Italians, 22nd and 23rd place. There's a lot of Italians on the grid, let's be honest. Philippe Strife 24th, Martin Brundle on the 13th and final row of the grid alongside the Coloni of Gabriele Tarquini. That means the two Zach Speeds miss out. Schneider 27th, Ginzani in 29th, and sandwiched in between Stefano Modena in the Eurobrun. Ivan Capelli, after his big crash in qualifying, of course misses out and will not see any more races this season. 80 laps of racing lie ahead, with heavy rain to begin this race, so wet tyres for every car, and then it's going to get lighter towards the end of the race. At least that's what the forecast says. Martin Brundle going for a two-stop, at least that's what he's going to fuel up to do, pitting lap 26 and lap 53, and the objective is to finish the race, which we've only done as a team 3 times in the first 7 races. Well, there's only one more thing to do, and that's go racing. The 1988 French Grand Prix is next.
Mate, we're all rooting for you here.
And here we are on the grid, and those are the lights. We're about to get underway for the French Grand Prix. Lights out, and we are off, starting down in 25th place. Martin Brundle has to take evasive action across the start-finish line, and then again, Perez Sala really lifting off and strafing to the left. Martin Brundle now down to 26th place, but to the inside for the first corner, a very tight right-hander, essentially a hairpin, and on this first lap, all the drivers, it's a concertina effect, but Brundle up to 22nd place, gaining a few places there. Great work up in the inside of turn 1. Now Alex Caffey in the Dallara, we know that Scuderia Italia Dallara car is very fast in the straight line now with all those upgrades, so it might be quite challenging for Martin Brundle to stick with that car down the Mistral straight, which is a very long straight. It relies heavily on engine power, and already you can see our top speed maybe about 253 kilometers an hour reaching the end of that, and I think Tarquini just made contact with our rear end there going into the right-hander. Anyway, into the next series of corners, there's René Arnoux going very slowly. Apparently he's got an issue Arnoux, I think, has gearbox issues, so he's going to be a sitting duck here. Martin Brundle needs to take his time and not rush anything because he doesn't want to cause an incident, but he's going to go for it. That's risky. Oh, he's lost the back end.
Oh, damn it, I'm at a spin already.
And already Martin Brundle down to the back of the grid, basically where he started. As further up, is that one of the... That's Thierry Boutsen. He's pulling off to the side of the circuit on the opening lap. So Boutsen out of the race. That could be suspension failure. And as we saw earlier on with Martin Brundle, René Arnoux has a gearbox issue. So Arnoux de Ligier pulling into the pits from his home Grand Prix as well. So disaster for the home favourite, the home hero, I suppose. Lap 2 of this race, and Senna leads the way ahead of Alboreto and Prost. Berg is in 4th, so Alboreto has got ahead of Prost at the start. So that's a good work from the Ferrari driver who missed a few races this season due to injury. Nelson Piquet in 5th and Nigel Mansell the final point scorer as it stands. We've got Philippe Alliot up in 8th place, the French driver doing wonders at his home Grand Prix right now. Warwick and Cheever, the two heroes of the last race at Detroit, in the top 10. They'll be looking to maybe scrape a few points here today, depending on how many drivers retire. Nelson Piquet there, the reigning world... He's slowing down. Piquet's out the race again. Can you believe this? 4 retirements in a row for Nelson Piquet, the Brazilian reigning world champion, out yet again. I can't believe that. 3 drivers out already, and we're on lap 4. Gabriele Tarquini under pressure in the Coloni, and that's an easy move for Martin Brundle. He's up to 22nd place.
Good work, next up,
Strife next up apparently, as here's Alex Caffey looking to the inside of Hub Rothengatter. It's Scuderia Italia versus Tyrrell, and this is the favoured overtaking spot on the circuit down into that first corner, and Caffey makes the move up. That Scuderia Italia has some pace here today. And now we look at Nannini. He's battling with Maurizio Gugelmin, the only March in the race. Of course, Ivan Capelli suffering that big injury in qualifying. And that's a move for Nannini. He's up, I think, into 10th place with that move. On board with Martin Brundle. Lap 7 of this race now. And Tarquini trying to fight back. Tarquini, the Coloni on the outside. Brundle defends the inside line and holds on to the position. As Nakajima now battling with Alliot. Philippe Alliot had a great start to this race, but he's going to lose out here, I believe, to Satoru Nakajima, who's on the inside of this right-hander. This is for 8th place, so it's not for a points position, but it could be by the end of this race, depending on how many retirements there are. Good move there by Nakajima, and Nannini just further behind, now trying to put his own move on Alliot. Alliot going defensive to the inside, Nannini further to the inside of turn 1, and they're side by side through turns 2 and 3 onto the Mistral Straight. Who will come out on top? Surely, if it's a drag race, it's going to be the Benetton of Alessandro Nannini who gets the upper hand on the LaRousse of Alliot, just purely through straight line speed and brute force and power with the engine in that Benetton car. As we head down the Mistral Straight towards the right-hander, which you really got to lift off. Slight tap of the brakes into the corner, and Nannini up to 9th place. As lap 10 of this race, Martin Brundle has Philip Strife in his sights. No longer. He gets past Strife. Next up, Hub Rothengatter. And it seems in these wet conditions, Martin Brundle and Streamline have a fair bit of pace. And they can seem to really just attack anywhere on circuit, including this left-hander here. That's very risky. Rothengatter struggling now. I think he qualified up in about 17th place, but in the wet, he's not so quick. And Martin Brundle might have an opportunity here into the second to last corner, and he takes it. Great move, and he's now into the top 20.
Lovely stuff, mate. Keep it up.
Good job, says the race engineer. As lap 13 and it's all over for Alliot. He's pulling into the pits after his brilliant start. He started falling back and gearbox issues. Paves the way for retirement on lap 13. And it's no better for Riccardo Patrese. The same ill fate has affected him. Gearbox issues, lap 14. Patrese into the pits and out of this race. Lap 14, and Alex Caffey really starting to struggle here. This is now the battle for 18th with all the retirements. Round the outside the final corner, that's not going to work, but maybe down this main straight, Martin Brundle can have a run on the Scuderia Italia ahead, but we know the Streamline's straight line speed and the drag of that car is not going to make it easy. Could there be a dive bomb towards turn 1? Brundle's gone for it. Great move there from Brundle. He's up into 17th place now. That's a good recovery drive so far. As this is Alessandro Nannini, and he's battling with Nakajima, so it's Lotus versus Benetton for 7th place in this one. And Nannini trying to get the good exit out the final corner. They'll go side by side across the line to start lap 19. I think actually the leader's on lap 18, so they're starting lap 18 themselves. Nannini on the inside, Nakajima on the outside. Who dares brakes latest? And it's going to be the Benetton. Nannini makes up another position, unless Nakajima can fight back, but no, he can't. So Nannini up to 7th. Nakajima now down to 8th as we've reached lap 20 of this one. Ayrton Senna still leads very comfortably. Michele Alboreto still ahead of Alain Prost. Prost at his home Grand Prix, of course. And he's a bit behind Senna in the championship, so he really wants this result to turn good for him. Mansell, due to the retirements of Piquet and the other driver I've completely forgotten, is up to 4th. Berger, never mind, Berger's been into the pits. He's possibly on a 3-stop here. So Berger, the Ferrari, down in 5th, and Derek Warwick, who scored a 2nd place finish in Detroit, is now in 6th place in this one. So it's looking good for the British driver. As Prost, who's really struggling, he's starting to slow down. Prost is pulling into the pits. He's retiring. Guess what? It's gearbox failure again. So yet again, another gearbox issue for one of these drivers out here today. As on to lap 20 we go.
Oh my god, I can't get close enough.
And Martin Brundle, that's the first sign of frustration. He had that spin on the opening lap, of course. And now he's trying to pull side by side with Martini. But he just doesn't have that acceleration or the top speed, even with the slipstream behind the car ahead. And the Minardi of Martini holding onto the position. Is Brundle going to get desperate? He's going for it. That's late. That is very late. They're side by side at the apex of turn 1, and Martini successfully defends for now. Yannick Daumas in the second Larousse. He's a French driver, of course, at his home Grand Prix. Trying to put a move on Maurizio Gugelmin, who's up in 9th place. Gugelmin scoring that podium, his first ever podium in Formula 1 last time out in Detroit, which meant he was actually moved up ahead of his teammate Ivan Capelli. And now that Capelli's out for the whole season, Gugelmin will finish ahead of Capelli, whatever happens during this season, because Capelli is most likely going to be out until next year, at least. But the March driver, Gugelmin, trying to fight back against Daumas with extra speed in the Leighton House March, and he does so. So retakes that 9th place, as this is Jonathan Palmer, and you'll never guess what. He's pulling into the pits, almost getting in the way of Gerhard Berger, but Palmer pulling in to retire the car. Gearbox issues again. How many gearbox issues have we seen today? Stefan Johansson in the Ligier. Ligier's home Grand Prix as well. And it's not good. It's a double retirement for Ligier here in the opening 23 laps. That's got to be suspension failure. Oh, that's very late from Brundle.
Check the front wing, might have damage.
He tapped the back of Martini, who he's trying to overtake still.
Front wing is all okay.
The front wing is fine now, and he's going for the move on the following lap. And this time it's more of a send than a dive bomb. And he gets past Martini. That's 12th place now for Brundle. He's driving a spectacular race, but Martini's straight line speed in the Minardi seems to be much better than that of the Streamline, and Martini fights back. This battle has been raging on for a number of laps. It's great.
Good work, Martin. Good work. That's 12th place.
So 12th place secured, and lap 28. That's an engine failure for Alex Caffey. I think we've seen that Scuderia Italia suffer engine failure about 3 times this season.
Boxing, come on.
So into the pits with 0 fuel left in the tank for Brundle. Maybe he went 1 lap too long yet again. He's done that multiple times this season. I think he did it in France. No, we are in France. I think he did it in Canada when he went 1 lap too long on a stint. Anyway, he's into the pits from 12th place. I wonder where he will rejoin. New wet tyres going on. 27 laps of fuel, which kind of ends up being 30 laps of fuel.
That's 13th place on the exit.
13th place for Brundle, which is his best result of the season so far, 13th place. As we look at Gerhard Berger on the road to recovery after... Oh, no, I think he's going off there. He is. Berger's out as... Oh, wow. Berger is out of the race here. The Ferrari retiring. And that upgrade of Ferrari really not paying dividends, at least for Gerhard Berger. But Michele Alboreto, his teammate, still in second. We're halfway through the race now, and Senna still leads the way. Mansell now could be on for his first podium of the season. I believe his first podium. He hasn't had one yet this season. And Derek Warwick up to 4th. Nakajima, the only Lotus in the points as it stands. Eddie Cheever, the hero, the home favourite, the home hero of the Detroit Grand Prix at least, up in 7th place. Daumas, I believe that's the only French driver in the top 10. Maurizio Gugelmin, he's been into the pits, so he's 11th place. And Brundle 12th. We only have 16 drivers left in this one, so they really are dropping like flies. It's been a story of bad mechanical reliability all season so far. Gugelmin really starting to struggle here, and Martin Brundle is overtaking a Leighton House March round the outside of the final corner. That would be a bold move. It's not quite going to work as they go side by side across the start-finish line. And then it's Gugelmin ahead of Brundle, because Brundle has absolutely no straight line speed, as we've come accustomed to so far this season. So he's going to have to try and overtake in a more elaborate way, and this could be the way to do it. This left-hander up the inside goes Brundle. Great move. He's up to 11th place.
Well done. Awesome move.
Awesome move. As lap 47, there's the Osella of Larini rejoining just behind Martini. Martini jumping the Osella in the pit lane. Osella having a great race.
Will the weather dry up before the end? No, Martin, we don't think so.
So no confirmation of the weather drying up. We expected the rain to get slightly lighter towards the end of this race, and it might still do. Eddie Cheever, what a win he had last time out in Detroit. A brilliant... Oh! Well, that's it. He's out of this one. Eddie Cheever, his race has come to an end on lap 52. He's retired. Senna into the pits, and out of the pits, he's still in the lead by a big margin. Second place, Alboreto. That could be 30, 40 seconds behind Senna. And with a pit stop still to serve, Senna truly dominating today. Alessandro Nannini has had a great recovery through the field, but it's all over for the Benetton. That's another retirement. They really are dropping like flies at this stage of the race.
You are currently in 7th place. Did you say 7th? Yes, that's 7th place, Martin. Wow, nice.
I'm as surprised as Martin Brundle. He's up in 7th place right now.
And we'll be boxing at the end of this lap. Box this lap.
And Brundle will be in for his final stop on lap 60. And let's have a look at the standings at that point of the race. Senna still leads. Alboreto second. Mansell in third. Nakajima, the Lotus driver, he's not scored too many points this season, so he'll be very happy if he can secure that 5th place. And Yannick Dalmas, the French driver, driving for a French team in 6th place. And I think he's the only French driver left in... Oh, Philip's driver's not French, is he? No, he's not, I don't think. Anyway, 13 drivers left in this one. Martin Brundle in 7th place. He's not going to score points because he still needs to pit, and everybody else has already pit, but that's a great result so far as Martin Brundle peels into pit lane, and it might be very close on the exit, so he needs a quick stop to get out ahead of his rivals as Gugelmin approaching the final corner along with a whole host of other drivers. I think Martini and the Osella of Larini, so it needs to be a quick stop, and it's a good one from the Streamline crew. 8.4 seconds.
Racing on the exit, watch out.
We are racing on the exit, and there goes the March, and there goes the Minardi. Where's Larini? Larini just behind in the Osella. So Martin Brundle rejoining in 9th place. A 7th place could genuinely be on the cards here, which will jump us up in the constructors big time.
Okay, but in 9th place right now, this is really good. Just 20 laps to go.
This is fantastic work. Brundle, I mean, he made that mistake on lap 1, of course, but since then he's been driving spectacularly well. It seems his motivation has just shot up, and maybe the conditions suit both him and the car. And we could be on for a top 10 result, as where did Larini come from? I did not even see the Osella making the move, but he's got past Brundle. So Brundle now down to 10th place. He's going to fight back. He's going to fight back up the inside of Larini, but he can't quite make it stick. And now Larini defending for all his might, holding on to that valuable 9th place. It's Osella versus Streamline. This could be a key battle in the constructors come the end of the season, because neither of these teams have points this season. And let's be honest, neither of these teams will score points unless something absolutely crazy and mental happens, which, to be fair, we've seen so far today with so many retirements. A few of the big names retiring could lead to points for these minnow teams. And Larini defending the inside into the final corner. Brundle can't make it stick. He does the switchback though. Larini goes super defensive, squeezing Martin Brundle up to the pit wall.
Did you guys see that? He can't do that.
And Brundle is not happy with that. Larini, though, holds on to 10th place as on lap 62, Brundle goes for the move into the second to last corner again, and this time makes it stick, gains the place. He's up to 9th now. It's great racing, but he's ran wide there at turn 3 on the following lap, and that gives Larini the opportunity to overtake again. A great battle between these two drivers, which will be raging on to the end of this race, I'm sure. Larini, can he defend this inside line? No, he can't. There goes Brundle up to 9th once again. A great move.
Okay, good job. Let's settle down now.
He just needs to hold on to this one. And oh no, that's brake failure. That's brake failure for Brundle on lap 64. So close to the end. He's out of this one.
The brakes have failed. Brakes failed. Okay, mate. Switch off. Switch off.
Oh, that's such a shame. Martin Brundle was having the race of the season so far for Streamline, and it all comes undone with brake failure spectacularly at the first corner. Brundle out of this one, and Ayrton Senna, lap 80, rounding the final corner for the final time. He'll cross the line to win the French Grand Prix and extend his championship lead. A great victory, great dominant victory in the wet weather from Ayrton Senna. So Senna wins and extends his championship lead. Alboreto in second place, and Mansell, I believe that's his first podium of the year for the Williams driver. Derek Warwick makes it 2 top 4 results in a row for the Arrows, and Nakajima in the Lotus, the only Lotus to score points. But I think one of the stars of the day should be Yannick Dalmas, 3 laps down, but he scores a point at his home Grand Prix, and for the team Larousse, their home Grand Prix as well. Mauricio Gugelmin gets close to scoring back-to-back points finishes, and same with Martini. I believe he scored in Detroit as well. Larini, though, the Acela up in 9th place, and Perez Sala makes it 2 Minardis in the top 10. The AGS of Philip Streif in 11th. Hugh Brothingata finishes back-to-back races for the first time in his career. Gabriel Tarquini there, and Martin Brundle. Martin Brundle, what could have been without that brake failure late on? We saw some big names retire. Eddie Cheever, of course, he won the last race, so I suppose he's a big name now. Gerhard Berger in the Ferrari, retiring from multiple races in a row. Alex Caffey, another engine failure for the Dallara. Stefan Johansson, the 2 Ligiers out with René Arnoux down in 25th. We also saw the big name Alain Prost at his home Grand Prix, gunning for what could have been maybe a 3rd or 2nd place in this one to keep his championship hopes at least on track. He's lost out big time here today. And Nelson Piquet. How can I forget Nelson Piquet? Reigning world champion, was championship leader early on in the season. Now he's had 4 retirements in a row. The result, of course, means that Senna now has a healthy margin in the championship, 11 points ahead of his compatriot Nelson Piquet. Alain Prost failing to score here today. Eddie Cheever up in 4th. He didn't score here today, but his teammate Derek Warwick did, who is now level with Nigel Mansell for 7th place. Mansell picking up his first podium today, of course. We've had 18 drivers score points so far this season. I got it wrong. It was Perez Sala who scored for Minardi last time instead of Martini. And that result brought Nicola Larini up to 26th place in the championship. Martin Brundle failing to score here today, or failing to finish, means that he's classified in 31st out of 35 in the championship. And another name will be added once Ivan Capelli is replaced next race. It's a one-team show at the top of the constructors, with McLaren leading Ferrari by 22 points. It's still between Ferrari and Lotus. Arrows are there, but they're not going to be there by the end of the season, I'm sure. Williams scoring good points today, bringing them above Benetton in the championship. 9 teams scoring points. Now Streamline is 17th place. They're second to last, only ahead of Coloni, who are also a fellow one-car team. Well, that is it from me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I know it's been a while since the last episode, but hopefully I can get more of these out as and when I can, I suppose. I'm looking at making a classic style, like, annual book or review book of the season come the end of this year. If anybody's interested in that, let me know, because I might end up making one. And make sure to subscribe to the channel if you're not already subscribed, like the video, and comment down below what you think. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.